A farmer bought an abandoned barn for almost nothing. Inside he found something that should not have been there. What he discovered did not just change his life. It revealed a secret that powerful people had buried for decades. Before we dive in, what time are you listening? Where are you from? Drop a comment below and tell me. And please like and subscribe for more videos like this. Marcus had been farming the same land for 30 years. Every sunrise looked the same. Every harvest felt the same. The soil was tired. The equipment was old. And Marcus was running out of time. The bank had sent 3 letters in 2 months, each one more urgent than the last. He needed money fast, or he would lose everything his grandfather had built. That is when he saw the auction notice. An old barn at the edge of the county was being sold. No one wanted it. The property had been abandoned for 40 years. The listing said the structure was unstable. The land around it was worthless. But the price was so low that Marcus could not ignore it. He thought maybe he could salvage the wood, maybe sell the metal roof. Anything to keep the bank away for another season. He drove out there on a gray morning. The barn sat alone on a flat stretch of land. No houses nearby. No roads except the one he came in on. The building leaned slightly to one left. The roof had holes. The doors hung loose on broken hinges. It looked like it would collapse in the next strong wind. But Marcus had dealt with worse. He walked around the property, checked the foundation, pulled at some boards. It was rough, but he thought he could make it work. He bought it that afternoon. The seller did not ask questions, did not even look Marcus in the eye, just took the payment and handed over the deed. Marcus noticed that. He noticed how quickly the man left, how he kept glancing back at the barn as he drove away. But Marcus pushed the thought aside. He had work to do. He returned the next morning with tools, crowbars, hammers, a chainsaw for the bigger beams. He figured he would start with the outer walls, work his way in, sell what he could, burn the rest. Simple plan. But the moment he stepped inside, everything felt wrong. The air was colder than it should have been. Thick, heavy, like the building was holding its breath. The floor creaked under his weight, not the usual creak of old wood. Something else, something hollow. Marcus knelt down. He tapped the floorboards with his hammer. The sound echoed. There was space underneath. A lot of space. He pried up one board, then another. Dust rose in clouds. Beneath the floor was not dirt. It was concrete. A concrete room. Built intentionally, hidden intentionally. Marcus's heart started to pound. He pulled up more boards, enough to see a ladder leading down into darkness. He should have left. He should have called someone. But curiosity pulled him forward. He climbed down into the dark. His flashlight barely cut through the blackness. The room was large, bigger than the barn above. The walls were lined with metal shelves, and on those shelves were boxes. Hundreds of boxes, all labeled with dates, names, numbers. Marcus opened the first box. Inside were files. Old files, photographs, documents, pages and pages of records. He started reading. His hands began to shake. These were not just any records. They were medical records, experiment logs, names of people who had been taken, people who had never come back. The photographs showed faces, scared faces, young faces, old faces, all of them marked with identification numbers, all of them part of something that should never have happened. The dates went back decades. 50 years, 60 years, some even older. Marcus sat on the cold floor. He could not breathe. This was not just a hidden room. This was proof of something terrible. Something people had tried to erase. The documents detailed experiments, procedures done without consent, lives destroyed in the name of research. And the names at the bottom of the pages were not random. They were officials, doctors, people with power, people whose families still had power. He climbed back up. His mind was racing. What was he supposed to do with this? If he went to the police, would they believe him? Would they even care? Some of the names in those files were connected to people who still ran things in this county. People who decided who got loans, who got permits, who got justice. Marcus thought about his farm, his family. What would happen if he made noise about this? But then he thought about the faces in those photographs. People who had no choice, no voice, no chance. If he did nothing, their suffering stayed buried. Their families would never know the truth. Marcus made a decision. He would not let this stay hidden. Not anymore. He spent the next 3 days going through every file, every box. He took photographs of everything, organized the documents, made copies. He worked in secret, told no one, not even his wife. He could not risk anyone finding out before he was ready. And then he noticed something. A car had been parked on the road near the barn. Different car each day, but always someone watching, someone waiting. They knew. Somehow they knew he had found it. Marcus realized the auction had been a setup. They wanted someone to buy the barn, someone who would tear it down, destroy the evidence without knowing what it was. But Marcus had looked too closely. He had found what they wanted gone forever, and now they were trying to figure out what to do about him. He stopped going to the barn. He stayed home, acted normal. But he had already moved the most important documents, hidden them somewhere safe, somewhere even his family did not know about. He contacted a journalist, someone from outside the county, someone who had a reputation for exposing uncomfortable truths. He sent copies of the files, explained what he found, and then he waited. The response came faster than he expected. The journalist was interested, very interested, but she needed more. She needed Marcus to go on record, to show where he found the files, to be willing to stand up in public and say what he knew. Marcus agreed. He knew what it would cost him, but he also knew it was the only way. The story broke on a Tuesday morning. It spread fast. National news picked it up. The files were real. The names were real. The evidence was undeniable. People who had spent their whole lives wondering what happened to their loved ones finally had answers. Painful answers, but answers. Families who had been told their relatives died of natural causes learned the truth. They had been used, experimented on, discarded. The backlash was immediate. Officials denied everything, called it a hoax, said the documents were fake. But forensic experts confirmed the age of the paper. The ink, the signatures, it was all real. Investigations were launched. People were arrested. Some of the names in the files were already dead. But their families faced the shame, the horror of what their relatives had done. Marcus became a target. His farm was vandalized. His equipment was sabotaged. Threatening letters appeared in his mailbox. People he had known his whole life stopped talking to him, stopped looking at him. The bank suddenly called his loan, demanded full payment. He knew it was retaliation. He knew they wanted to break him, make him an example of what happens when you expose powerful people. But something else happened too. People started helping him. Strangers from across the country sent donations. Lawyers offered to work for free. Other families who had suffered similar injustices reached out, shared their stories, stood beside him. Marcus realized he was not alone. The truth had created a wave, and that wave was bigger than any threat. The legal battles took years. Some cases were won. Some were lost. Some of the guilty were punished. Others escaped through legal loopholes, money, connections. But the truth was out. It could not be buried again. Memorials were built. Names were spoken aloud. Families found closure. Not the kind they wanted, but the kind they needed. Marcus never got rich from what he found. The barn was eventually torn down. The land was turned into a memorial site, a place for people to remember, to grieve, to understand what had been done in the shadows. Marcus lost his farm. The bank took it, but he did not lose himself. He had made a choice, a hard choice, and he would make it again. Years later, a young woman approached him at one of the memorial events. She thanked him, said her grandmother had been one of the names in those files, said her family had spent decades not knowing, living with questions that had no answers, until Marcus found that barn, until he refused to look away. She hugged him, and in that moment Marcus understood. Some things are worth more than money, more than safety, more than comfort. The barn was gone, but what it revealed would never be forgotten. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe for more videos like this.